Hi, it's Jeff.
And Denise from MouseSteps.com.
And this is MouseSteps Weekly, episode 18.
Very exciting. Sponsored by Theme Park Connection in Winter Garden, Florida.
And Maple Leaf Tickets in Kissimmee, Florida, our official tickets agency.
And
today is a special MouseSteps Weekly. We're going to try something new. This is part one of possibly 3 parts.
3 parts?
Looking at
I think there's only 2 parts.
3 parts. Looking at the Polynesian.
That would be a lot.
This is the early morning look at the pool.
The Nanea Volcano Pool at Disney's Polynesian Resort.
And the other 2 parts would be looking at the inside of the resort and also vintage of the inside. And part 3 would be the luau and the luau
the walkway.
The walk to
right.
the luau, that
the
other
Grand
wing
Floridian.
of the hotel. So anyway, that's what possibly will come.
Maybe, if everybody likes it.
This is okay.
MouseSteps started 5.5 years ago. I started it to showcase walks around Walt Disney World. And I've actually been asked for video walks as well, so we're trying one today. This is the Seas Lagoon, and this is a very early morning. It must have been like 7:30 in the morning when we came, so there's nobody there.
Yes, well, we had an ulterior motive too, because we are big fans of the Tonga toast.
And you can find that at Captain Cook's as well. That's where we always get it. We don't go to
Never pull that rope, by the way. That rope, see the water coming down? If you don't know and you're just, you know.
Well, it's by the pool.
Well, some of us aren't that bright, especially early in the morning. And I think this is for the like a kiddie play area.
Right.
Of course, there was
nobody here. We'll see the pool later with guests there. I like to do the photo walks early in the morning before anybody's really in my pictures.
So that's why we were there early. And also we wanted to demonstrate the walk, which we will do very soon.
And is this quiet pool?
This is the quiet pool.
And this has changed. Both of the pools have changed over the years.
We'll see the original pools on the vintage segment later on in this episode.
I like the and I was going to say, this is one resort that may also be changing. All of the monorail resorts seem to be having plans. The Contemporary Resort and Grand Floridian and Disney's Polynesian Resort all look to be having some changes in the upcoming year.
Yeah, there's been many rumors, but nothing has been confirmed. Disney hasn't made any announcement, but we hear DVC probably will be on its way at some point.
Well, I think the pool here is changing. The volcano pool, I think, is having some changes, and possibly a jacuzzi, because the Polynesian Resort doesn't have one.
Boy, this guy is sneaky. I like the tikis all
I know.
around
I don't
the
know why
resort.
he's hiding in the bushes.
That's why I like that one. That's old school. You'll see later on in the photos from the 70s, these guys have been there all along.
There's a lot of tikis all over Disney's Polynesian Resort during the walk we'll take.
And you'll see similar tikis at Disneyland if you go to the tiki room. Very similar tikis. Now this fun site, look at this. This
TTC. This is
yes.
early in the morning at the TTC.
This is your typical early morning. So if you're going to the Magic Kingdom and you're parked at the TTC, instead of getting involved in this fun time,
we had breakfast.
I say, take this, if you don't know, take this walk we're about to show you over to the Poly.
Well, don't tell everybody to do that.
Not all you guys on the screen, keep going. Just the smart ones go over to the Poly, have some Tonga
breakfast.
Toast, relax, and get there when you get there.
But some people like to be there guests like to be there for rope drop.
Okay, well.
So there's a walkway, and this is where my photo walks have always started when I do the Polynesian Resort from the TTC.
It's a very, very relaxing walk. It gets away from the mob you just saw. And
these are the bricks around the world. Also, I don't know if you stopped for that, but they stopped.
Yeah, I will. I will show you the bricks. The bricks continue on all the way through into the Poly.
Back in the 90s, they had the walk. I don't know if they called it the walk around the world, where you could buy a brick for like $100. And I wish I had one.
I found the brochure just yesterday.
Yes, you did.
So I do not have one either. So we did not help Disney to pave the walkway.
I would have liked one.
I actually would have liked one too. I make fun of it because I don't have it.
And there's the Disney's Polynesian Resort sign.
And there are all those bricks we talked about.
And they, back in the early 2000s, I believe, they opened them up for a short while again, and I didn't get one then either. I wish I did.
Well, maybe they'll have platinum special $400 edition bricks that will never fade away.
I can do 100, but I can't do 400. And we're walking into now into the Longhouse area of Disney's Polynesian Resort.
More tikis.
And I love them. A lot of I love character.
Yeah, well, that particular Tiki, I forget his name, but he is definitely at the Tiki Room.
He has a name?
He's the guy who shoots the fire out of his head.
Oh, he doesn't do that
You
here.
can cook a hot dog in that. I forget his name, of course.
And I don't know all the Longhouse names anymore. I wrote some of them down.
They've all changed.
They have changed.
Not all, but most have changed.
Back in like 99, they all changed, except for, I think Fiji didn't change.
But I have many, many memories of the Polynesian as a kid, staying there. My parents would always take us for like 2 weeks, and we'd stay at the old. And that was when there was just the Contemporary and the Poly and the campground.
And my family did too. We probably each stayed there at least 100 nights in our lives, mostly as kids when our parents were paying the bill.
Yes, that's the best way to do it. And that's kind of how we ended up having that in common, our background of staying here at the Poly.
And this is the old Tangaroa Terrace, and that was a restaurant that my family used to go to like every single night.
Same here. That's where I was introduced to the wonders of the Tonga toast.
And we never had Tonga toast there. We had date nut bread.
And this is a view out of the window looking. Back in the day, they didn't have the other buildings or the trees. So while you were enjoying your Tonga toast, you could look out and see a nice view of the Seas Lagoon. And you still can sort of see it, but now there's
not
more
to the same
grown
degree.
in. And it's not open anyway, so it doesn't matter.
But you can also see there's plants around the Tangaroa terrace.
Right up on where the windows are.
And it's still used for conventions and such. So.
But I loved the Tangaroa Terrace for breakfast.
That was the best for breakfast, for dinner, for all
There's
the time.
Volcano
Rocks.
Volcanic rock.
A person, there's people.
Well, it's probably...
It's so early and nobody's out.
Early.
Everybody's either at the Magic Kingdom or
It was not my
eating.
idea to be there that early. That goes on the record. There it is, the Tangaroa Terrace.
No, you don't like to get up early.
And that's the old lettering. That is the old Polynesian. They changed the font of the Polynesian lettering.
And
we'll
you can
point that out
still
later.
find a few instances of the old lettering.
The old font, right. And this, I don't know what this one was. This reminds me of the Seven Dwarfs somehow.
And this is not only the Tangaroa Terrace, but the
Mona Mickey's
Fun Hut used to be here.
Yes.
This is where the arcade used to be, and I spent a lot of days as a kid there.
I did too. I played the Frogger. Played many a game of Frogger and pinball. Much pinball, one of my favorite things to do. We're showing our age.
Yes, and I just remember as a kid, I either went here or I went over to the Contemporary Resort, which actually had the best game room next to what Disney Quest is now.
Oh yeah, the Contemporary game room was
and movies
the place.
And their snack bar where the Wave is now.
They had a place to check in your kids there at the Mickey Mouse Club, it was called.
And
my parents checked me in there as well as checked me in this place we're about to see. The
was it always called it probably wasn't called the Neverland Club back then?
I don't think it was. And of course I'm not prepared. I don't remember what it was really called.
And the Neverland Club,
that's a later edition. Yeah, we're gonna walk down and see the signage for it. There it is.
And this is where kids 4 to 12 can be dropped off. I don't know if it's 10 or 12 an hour maybe to enjoy time with other children and to play games.
Right, and if the parents want to do the luau or something and they
don't want to bring the kids.
Right.
The
kids have a great time at the Neverland Club. We stopped and looked, and all the kids were having a good time. So, and it's very well supervised. I mean, you can't just walk in.
I have heard
you
nothing.
You can walk into the door. There's very good
rave reviews from parents.
Right. So do you remember your first visit to the Poly?
Yes, and it was back, I think it was 1976, and this was our first time to Walt Disney World, and we were actually booked for the Dutch Inn, which is now the Grosvenor, and we were there for all of one night, and there was a roach in our room, and my parents didn't like the roach, and they called the Polynesian Resort. Of course, there are palmetto bugs, and you find them everywhere.
Right.
But the Polynesian, back then you had to book a year in advance. It was really hard to get a reservation, so somebody must have canceled. And so my parents were able to get us the week or 10 days, whatever we were staying there.
Roach-free accommodations at the Poly.
Yeah, we didn't see any. Palmetto bugs.
Yes.
That is the tropical term for our flying roaches here. I'm assuming it's a tropical term. Do you remember your first time?
I don't remember. I mean, I was really little too, so it was before then. It was probably in 72 or 73, so I was very young. I just remember all year looking forward to going to the Polynesian. That was the place, and as a kid I didn't care about the parks. I just wanted to swim.
And I wanted to ride the boats, the little mini speedboats. My parents would always let me ride, a couple times during the trip, and they'd always let me take my little card to go shopping.
Do you remember the bob around boats, the little circular
never
boats?
did that.
We did that, and it stalled out in front of one of the big ferry boats. My father almost had a heart attack. So that was, I'll never forget. That was the first and last time.
I love this stream.
Very relaxing. Again, the whole thing, this place is so relaxing to me.
And it's still my favorite resort, and I can't imagine that changing. Even the atrium, the lobby inside is my favorite lobby.
I just hope it doesn't get a drastic change. Like
Right.
we've heard it could be a smaller version of the Alani.
I haven't heard that recently, so I'm hoping they'll keep the large rooms like they have and the old style rooms like they have.
Aren't the rooms the biggest rooms?
Among the biggest. I think Shades of Green, what used to be the Disney Inn, has the biggest rooms on property.
Now, what we just saw at the
Not
pool
including BBC.
was sort of a jacuzzi-like thing. This resort, surprisingly, doesn't have an actual jacuzzi.
No jacuzzi. Well, no, not even a similar jacuzzi. I know there's a little...
We just saw it a second ago. It's cold, though. It's part of the pool, so it's not really a jacuzzi.
But I read that maybe they'll have a jacuzzi coming.
Right.
So
And here,
we'll see.
here is you can rent these. They
cabanas.
are the cabanas, the private, and they look very comfortable.
They do, and I know they're pretty pricey.
Right. So, but well, that was part one of our
Are we
photo
done
walk.
already?
Well, we're about to look at the
Oh.
vintage photos, but
That was quick.
that's what I'm saying. Part two will
I love
be
the Polynesian.
inside. We'll go inside, look at old and new of the inside of the resort,
If-
including the rooms.
But we want feedback to see if people are our listeners are even interested in that.
And
first.
these are some vintage
Sailboats.
pictures that I've taken. They used to have sailboats for rent, and they also used to have a water ski show. There's Goofy and Donald, which was a really cool show. But this was the star of the show for me. This was the original volcano pool.
But there was no volcano.
I don't mean volcano. I'm sorry.
It was like cliffs, and it looked really natural. Like something that almost grew out of the land.
Right. And see how you actually got in line underneath the waterfall, and that's a young me going
Sliding down the
the
rocks.
slide into the water in that pool. I loved that pool. But
I
yeah,
didn't do
so you
that.
actually had to go through. You had to go through a waterfall to get in line, wait inside the waterfall, and then slide down. I mean,
back
at the
then-
time, it was a big deal.
Back then there was and the
There's that waterfall. You had to walk
Beautiful.
through that to get
I remember
to the line.
that. And there was a deep end, I think, probably in this pool too. Most of the pools on property back then had the deep ends.
It's my brother and sister. I'm sure they'll appreciate being in this. You can see the old. Well, there's the pool being refurbed. I took those wacky pictures even back then. So and this proves here's evidence you used to be able to swim
and you
in
can see the
Seas
buoys
Lagoon.
showing you can't swim there anymore.
But you can go out to the float there.
back then.
So that's our whole family, except for my mother, who was probably taking the picture. And there's the point there, the Sunset Point, and more sailboats.
And they had different kinds of boats back then, which was pretty cool.
I remember they used to have a moonlight cruise that we took as a family.
I never did that. And you can see here there would be a deep end because you have the buoys.
Oh yeah, that was when Disney pools used to have a deep end, and there we are, not drowned coming out of the.
I didn't
deep
have
end.
very many family photos because I usually was off by
You were taken
myself.
off.
I did. I'd always take off and hang out myself.
So that was our first look at the Poly, and if this goes over well, we will have another. And this is a teaser of the old inside of the lobby. With
I remember those chairs.
Yeah,
And the checkerboard.
the green checkerboard floor, right?
And I just wanted to mention also that Disney's Polynesian Resort opened as the Disney Polynesian Village, which is what we still call it
We should have been
sometimes.
calling that the whole
And,
time, the whole show. We should have said
Opening day 1971, October 1st.
that. Right. So the Polynesian Village. And that's another episode, number 18.
And don't forget our sponsors, Theme Park Connection in Winter Garden, Florida.
And Maple Leaf Tickets. We'll see you next week, everybody.
Have a great week.